Good morning. My name is Stacey Ziarko. I'm the president and CEO of the Sterling Heights Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we're here today with Luke Bonner, our Senior Economic Development Director from the City of Sterling Heights, Steve Couchman from Live Picture, our technology extraordinaire, and Mark Kashubsky, partner with O'Reilly Rancilio in Sterling Heights. And we are here today to talk a little bit about what has been going on. There's been many new federal regulations that have come out in terms of the Families First Leave Act, as well as the Payroll Protection Acts. And we have Mark here today to talk a little bit about how that might impact your business, and you as an individual. So Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Stacey. I appreciate you inviting me to this Corona cast, or whatever we're calling this now. I was asked to come on today to talk a little bit about how my clients have been handling some of the business aspects of this shutdown and what we can see going forward, and give some idea of what strategies may be in place to limit liabilities and shore up business so that we can all get through this together. As you know, this past Sunday, President Trump extended his recommended social distancing guidelines until April 30th. Those guidelines were initially established on March 16th and were dubbed originally the 15 days to slow the spread. At that Sunday evening's press conference, he also stated that we can expect that by June 1st that we will be on our way to recovery. What the president did not say, however, is this will all be over by May or June. It is clear that we're looking at several months before we can expect to get back to any sense of what I'm calling the new normal. Small businesses in particular are being impacted the most, and will have major consequences from the shutdown for every business owner's planning for the remainder of the fiscal year. While each day is going to present an immediate challenge, planning for the months ahead now will mitigate your risk and help you weather this storm. In my limited time on today's cast, I'm going to highlight two areas that I've been addressing the most with my clients over the past 2 weeks. The first is strategy for shoring up cash reserves, and the second is employee retention, which is going to become more apparent and more important as these weeks and months go on. So let's talk about shoring up cash reserves. We've all heard that saying cash is king is that old saying that everybody likes to use. At times like these, this saying has never been truer. Maintaining positive cash flow balance month over month will be critical to your business survival. Now, how are you going to do that? What strategies can you put in place to keep your cash reserves, add to them if possible, and try to limit the expenditures going forward? Well, first off, you really need to take advantage of the new SBA 7A loan opportunities under the federal stimulus package. It's a topic of a different Zoom cast from my understanding, but I'm going to get into some of the overview of it. It is anticipated that the application process is going to be simple, not quick. And there is over $350 billion in forgivable loans in the package to assist all businesses to get through this. This includes the Paycheck Protection Program, which allows employers to get a loan of up to 2.5 times their average monthly payroll amount, which then can be used to cover payroll costs, pay rent, healthcare, and other eligible costs, which can then be forgiven. Small businesses can also apply for up to $10,000 in federal grants to retain workers and pay debt obligations. There's also some state and local grant funding available. You're going to need to work with your relationship manager at your bank, in particular, your accountants and your lawyers as well, to assist you in applying for these opportunities immediately. While $350 billion sounds like a lot of money on a national scale, it's not. We can assume that this pot is going to dwindle very quickly, and we don't know if the next stimulus package is going to add to it. This is important because my understanding is that these documents and these applications go live on Friday. And I've heard from many of my banking clients that unless you have a relationship with their bank, you will not be processed ahead of anybody else. They are going to focus specifically on those business banking relationships that they have already and make sure their customers are satisfied first. So to the extent that you have a relationship with your bank that is pretty good, you need to get a hold of them now, start talking about what you need to put together to have yourself put into the queue. One banking institution alone said in Michigan they plan on over the next 30 days processing about 4,000 of these applications, and they're not going to be bringing in additional staff to do it. So they're going to try to get through it as quickly as they can. But again, a dwindling pot and time doesn't add up to a good recipe. So get there as quick as you can. The next thing you need to do, aside from getting government money to help you, is to really look at yourself. And this is the tough thing to do. You're going to need to cut needless expenses. And I don't mean just, go through your monthly expense and say, oh, I'm going to cut this one thing or this other thing. These have to be hard cuts. You have to identify all of your recurring expenses, identify what it is you can do without. And in today's world, every dollar is going to count. Maybe time to cancel your Sports Illustrated magazines or your club dues or other expenses that seem small, but when put together every month add up. This will be important to keep in as much cash in your account as possible. You also need to review your corporate debts. You should do whatever is possible to pay out less on debts than what money comes in. Pay when you get paid if possible. If you have cash, paying off a debt that's at a low interest rate that can be paid later may not be your best option. Ask for extensions when you can get them. We're all in the same boat, and most of the creditors out there are going to work with you because they know when this comes through, they're going to still need you as customers. You got to review your accounts receivable. Who owes you money? How many days past due? Is there an opportunity to get paid by offering a discount for immediate payment? Again, shore up your capital. Cash is king right now. Want to identify your current cash position, which may not be great right now. You have to run through those monthly and quarterly expenses like we just said, and you have to create a budget and try your best to generate that revenue to try to at least break even if you can for now. You also need to run through some various scenarios on cash flow, best case, worst case, somewhere in the middle. What does that all look like? You have to be honest with yourself. We can expect that payments will be slower than usual. We can expect the cost of goods may rise. You can expect that new business and revenues will likely take a hit. All of this will take a shot at your bottom line. So what can you do to help mitigate some of that again? Review your legal obligations, manage your risk. Look at your contracts with your vendors, your suppliers, your landlord, your customers. Does this pandemic qualify for any kind of discount? Is it a force majeure event? Can you delay rent payments? If you're a landlord, one of the concerns that one of my clients had was delaying rent without defaulting on the bank's covenants. So if one of their tenants, for instance, was a restaurant and they're not going to be paying, the restaurant said to the landlord, can I defer my payments? We had to check with the bank to find out whether or not that was an automatic default on the loan covenant. That's an important thing you have to look at. What notice requirements do you have to get? If there's some triggering event prohibiting you canceling a contract in the future or terminating it early, is there a default if you don't provide that type of notice? Will you legally be able to cancel if you don't give that notice? What are the terms and conditions of your purchase order? That's an important one because in this day and age, battle of the forms, whose terms and conditions are going to control, yours or your vendors? Can you work with your creditors to defer payments? Do you have contracts for future services that can be canceled now with low or no penalty? Things like this you need to look at and see what is your cash flow going to be, what cash reserves do you have, and what can I do to limit my risk to keep as much in the bank? Again, rely on your bank relationships, your accountants, your attorneys, guide you through these questions. Understanding your risk will allow you to make critical decisions to manage both your money and your liability. Taking advantage of the stimulus money, collecting on old receivables, deferring payments when possible, and identifying and cutting all unnecessary expenses. It's going to put you in the best position to allow you to carry cash forward every month. Also, if you do receive stimulus money, I would caution, only use it when necessary and for the reasons you stated when you applied for it. Keep as much cash for as long as possible. Shoring up cash is only one thing that you have to be prepared for, and my clients have been contacting me about employment and employees because of the current stimulus package providing for $600 extra per week for the average, or for all, I should say, individuals on unemployment. So the question is going to be, how do we prepare to bring these employees back in the future? What should we be doing now to make sure that we can generate new capital when we can open back up? So I call this the new normal. The coronavirus is not going anywhere. We all know this. It may become a recurring seasonal sickness like the flu. While some treatments are showing promise, the reality is a vaccine is likely a good 10 to 12 months away. As such, some level of social distancing controls and protocols will need to remain in place as our new normal. Even if employees are told to come back, we need to prepare our environment to remain safe. You have heard on the news, I'm sure, that some employees are reluctant to come back to work. Others are happy to stay on unemployment. Some employers have been actually turned in by their employees for violating the governor's stay-at-home order. You've also heard on the news, employees have been giving hero bonuses, as they're calling them, and some are getting additional dollar per hour raises. Some are $2 an hour in some grocery stores. The idea is to try to keep the employees happy, keep them from going on unemployment if possible, especially the critical infrastructure employee, and to make sure that we can bring them back when we need them. Ultimately, I believe, like most people, that most people will come back to work because they want to, as long as they're safe and protected by their employer. So how do we plan for and provide for a safe environment to relieve those concerns and allow those employees to come back? Well, a lot of that is really what the CDC is already talking about, but it's something we need to plan for, even though right now we're working on a day-to-day as opposed to a month-to-month forward. So the new normal will require updated written policies and manuals, essentially outlining new rules. Those rules surrounding telecommuting, what type of document sharing are we going to allow? We're going to allow our employees to take files home with them off-site. Can everything be done electronically? How do you secure that? These are policies that are going to have to be implemented. We're going to have to put in policies that talk about people leaving work when they feel sick without requiring medical documentation. And when they come back, you may want to institute some sort of screening via a thermometer to see if there's any symptoms. You're going to want to redesign the office workspace to manage and control your social distancing. You're going to have to start really contemplating limiting in-person meetings with staff and promote video conferencing with staff, not just clients. You may want to limit unnecessary public contact. The front receptionist desk may not be there in the future. We're not sure. You're going to want to develop facility and office cleaning protocols that you can relay to your employees so they know and understand that you are doing everything you can to make sure they're safe. All employees want to know the management has their best interests in mind, whether it's a receptionist, a billing clerk, you name it. These employees will not come back unless they can be assured that their concerns and safety are being addressed. Those are the two big issues that I've been hearing from my clients right now. I know the other podcasts or Zoomcasts that we're lining up have more in-depth things on the financial aspect, but from the legal world, I'm trying to advise my clients how best to stay in business and how best to handle their risk. So I hope this helped. I'm out of time. Until we speak again, I hope that you and your families remain safe and healthy. Thanks.
Mark, I got one question for you.
Sure.
One follow-up question, if I could. There's a lot of really good information and very much appreciate it. We're 3 weeks into this, right? And some of the effects may have started even maybe another week to 2 weeks even before then, when social distancing was requiring fewer meetings and fewer physical interactions. So with the state that we're in today, where people have had 3 or 4 weeks to begin doing something, if either you haven't taken this challenge on full steam, or let's say you have, in any situation, what is like the absolute number one thing somebody really needs to hunker in and start doing immediately? So you're a partner in a professional services firm and you provide business advisory services to clients. So what's that number one thing somebody really has to do like immediately today? And what are you seeing your clients do that you feel has been kind of a best practice to just start, today, for example?
So the two, I'm going to say is two things. One is making sure you understand your cash position is the first one, because everything flows from there. how you're going to handle your employees. Are you going to lay them off? Are you going to keep them on? Are you going to send them home on a furlough versus a layoff? There's differences. With a layoff, for example, a straight layoff, they're not going to get health care, and they're going to be at home collecting unemployment. And for anyone who makes over $36,000 a year, they're going to stay home and receive about $100,000 benefits. If you have two people, that's about $50,000 for one person. But if you have two family members that are both making a similar amount of money, they're going to stay home and make about $100,000 to stay home. And that makes sense. The stimulus package was designed to incentivize people to stay home and on unemployment for the short run, as opposed to what it normally would do is just bridge until you found a new job or found a way back into the workforce. They're actually telling people to stay home right now. So from a business perspective, cash is important because how you're going to pay your employees. So some firms that I've seen out there are just straight up laying off employees. Some large companies are sending out Warrant Act notices saying that they are shutting down and they are laying off everyone, and they're not paying health insurance. Others are furloughed, and I'm taking the position I'm going to furlough, I'm going to pay health care, I'm going to get some deferred tax credits going forward. Some have sent their employees home just straight out and said, you know what, I'm going to pay you the 80 hours Family Medical Leave Act. I'll get those credits going forward, and after those 2 weeks are done, there's not much more I can really do to help. So there's a lot of different strategies, and each one of them comes with different risks. You have highly trained employees or employees that you can't just take back off the street, and you're going to have to spend time to ramp up with the incentive to furlough them and pay their health insurance going forward may ensure that they come back to you. These are all strategies that I think have to be dealt with today, whether you're going to be paying employees going forward or not, especially when they can't come to work. And many of them can't remote work. They just can't. It's just not a type of job that allows them to do it. So I think those are the biggest hurdles that have to be dealt with today. That and getting as much stimulus money as you can possibly get so that you spend somebody else's money before you spend your own. And that's two biggest things right now that have to happen.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon on another COVID for Business Zoomcast.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.